Hi there, good morning. It is June the 10th, 2023, and she's back. Many of you ask on the regular basis, where is our Andrea Foulkes? Well, here she is. Andrea Foulkes, say hello. And for those that don't know what you do, please tell us what you do, my love.
Hi, Dani. Oh, it's so lovely to spend that time with you in the UK recently. So what do? I do past life regression, inner child healing, ancestral timeline healing, spirit releasement. I speak light language. I take people between lives to connect with their soul star families and their higher self. And I've done all that for 20-ish years, nearly 22 years now, full-time, non-stop.
It is. You are prolific. Now, I'm going to talk, and I know this is a little bit uncomfortable for you, but I really don't care because it's all good. You have been on the television in Britain for so many years, and you have interviewed and regressed and done, clinical hypnotherapy, inner child healing on incredible amounts of what the world calls celebrities and famous people. You were dominating one particular channel, which is a good morning breakfast show in Great Britain.
Not quite right. It's called This Morning. It is a show. Yes. I mean, comparing it to America, it's like Good Morning America. It's a big show. It's on the main terrestrial show, and it's called This Morning. And I did that show back in 2000. I mean, it was so unusual. I mean, I know we spoke about this before, but I mean, it shows you that there must have been some divine intervention for me to be able to do this. I went on this show to do a one-off segment on a paranormal week on regression, past lives. This was we filmed it in December 2003. It aired in January 2004. From the minute of me going on this show and regressing the hosts of the show, the producers said, can you come back every week? And I came back every week, regressing celebrities. We started researching the past lives to find out whether they truly existed. So put under a lot of scrutiny. And they loved it so much, they said, can you keep coming and doing this weekly on this show until we make you your own show? And I did 2 series of a show on ITV1, again, the same channel, called Have I Been Here Before? And we aired 2 series of me regressing celebrities back to past lives. When we did this other show originally on This Morning, I was using celebrities, but I pushed forward to want to regress members of the public because I really wanted to show the healing aspects of regression and past lives. And they even let me talk about entities twice. And if you go on my YouTube channel, see me in a kind of fluffy way, showing a regression, dealing with entities and talking about entities as well.
Yeah, and again, because you were on the show that was headed by a man called Phillip Schofield. You cannot turn a corner in Great Britain right now without that man's name. It is like the biggest scandal. Nobody really has all the facts yet, but he's been accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a young guy. Who knows what this story is, but one of the reasons I really want to address this is because he has been this iconic, messianic, like Messiah figure on our television screens for over 30 years. He started in children's television. Now he's mainstream Good Morning TV, and he has fallen. We are witnessing all the systems on our planet falling. Now, what do you say about this?
Well, I mean, in the UK, it's going from, how has this person fallen from grace? You know, it's the fact that it's also bringing in another issue, which is huge for the whole of humanity, is that this person who he has admitted to having had a relationship with was very young when he met him. He's admitted to him meeting this person when he was 15, but he says that no physical relationship happened until the boy was of a legal age. But it's not that, it's the fact that this boy worked on the show as a runner, if you know what a runner is on a television show. And then it brings up this whole other topic that's becoming very big. It's 2 things. It's about people abusing their positions of power in a work environment, and then it's also bringing up a much broader topic, which is huge for not just in the UK, this is globally huge. Grooming, what is grooming? What defines grooming? And, you know, there is no court case against him. You know, people have their own personal beliefs of morals. I mean, you know, he was actually married and he does have 2 children, and he did come out publicly as gay in the UK 2 years ago on television. So it's a moral questioning. It's where does all this come from? You know, it's, if we look at the, you know, because I do believe in redemption for humanity. I truly believe that people have to, you know, look within, look at their behavior. There must be some form of punishment for their inappropriate behavior, but he hasn't done anything illegal that we're aware of at this point in time. People are casting aspersions left, right, and centre. But it also comes down to, there was a great book years ago written by a guy called Scott Peake called People of the Lie. And he also wrote a great book called The Road Less Travelled, which people might have read The Road Less Travelled. I don't think the People of the Lie got that many people buying the book because of the title, The People of the Lie. So what it's doing, this whole situation now from this person who was the key host of the show and has carried on being the key host of the show, who I regressed, and I regressed him back into a past life. And it, you know, this was someone who didn't think they'd go into the regression. He was the first one I ever did for television. He cried in the past life, you know, I mean, he's not the kind of person who would cry. And it turned out in the past life, he was in debt and he couldn't pay his bills. We couldn't pay the rent in the past life, and it was a long time ago, another century ago, and they killed his child because he couldn't pay the rent, and his child died in the past life because he couldn't pay his bills. You know, so our past lives are affecting our current lives, because this was a person who, if you live in the UK, you literally, if you turned on terrestrial television, he would be on every show going. He'd be on every TV commercial going. You know, there was a desire within him, which he's publicly spoken about, that he doesn't like being in debt. He doesn't like to have not paid his bills. You know, it's very important for him to earn money. And you could see that, you know, when you see people on television, it could be any country where you live, and you think, how much money is enough for you? You know, how, if you're famous, you know, in a public profile way, how many TV shows do you need to be on? How much money do you actually need to earn? But, you know, we can stand and judge that. But if you've got a story running that you haven't quite resolved, and, you know, this was early days when I was doing regressions, and perhaps I was nervous to stress to him the importance of clearing that past life, which is how I work very deeply in resolving that, because he hadn't actually told me what his issues were when we did the regression. So sort of meandering through the just a rough outline of his life, because he is an exceptionally private person, and, you know, perhaps understandably so now. So if you're a person coming to see me in person, you're going to tell me more about your life, and we can help you get to the origin of the trauma. So, you know, to see these personalities that, you know, from your point of view and my point of view, we've watched these people since we were children. You know, television in the 70s was very powerful globally and in the UK. And we are told these were people of good standing in our communities, you know, that we should look up to these people. And now they're falling from grace. I mean, we've had so many in the UK that were from our childhood TV programs.
Oh my God. The most important people, Rolf Harris, oh my God,
Jimmy Savile.
And we were force-fed these men as good men, as good role models, and Jimmy Savile in particular, the Americans call him Seville. You know, you got to tell someone how to pronounce, like, the River Thames is not the River Thames. You know, Arkansas is not Arkansas. You know, there's an S on the end. What's that doing there? Anyway, we were, as children in Britain, force-fed, this is what a good man looks like. And those 2 men I just mentioned, Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris, Jimmy Savile in particular, turned out to be the sickest. You cannot even fathom the sick, evil, the satanic, demonized, possessed by so many demons. and which made him do the things he did, because he was all, it was just, and yeah, you and I and people of our generation have been devastated by what was.
I wrote to him as a child, you know. I wanted.
Yeah. Me too. To the TV show, Jimmy, will you fix it for me to be a nursery nurse for the day? What did you ask him to do for you?
I wanted to meet John Travolta from Greece. I think I was probably 8 at the time, and I think the first film I saw was Grease, and I was so wowed by this. I think I wanted to meet Olivia Newton-John as well. I always loved Olivia. And now there's a celebrity who is a bastion of how to live. That woman has lived I mean, sadly, very sadly, she's died of cancer, hasn't she? But that woman was like an angel on earth, wasn't she?
She has, I feel, a similar light to Princess Diana.
Yes.
And when I think about Princess Diana, I know that there are billions, not millions, billions of people that they don't know what it is, but there's something inside of Diana. So I got goosebumps, right?
Yeah, me too, me too.
Right. That's her. There's something inside of Diana that is a light that emanates and touches. So our deepest desire to be loved, to be seen, to be nurtured, to be noticed.
Oh,
Diana,
beautiful.
but this is true, my love. It's true. There are few people I see on this planet like Diana. And, you know, her light still shines and we still crave that, but we're craving what's already inside of us. We have that beautiful Pleiadian light, that eminence, you know, it's in all of us. And I feel Olivia Newton-John was a very similar.
I always look at Olivia Newton-John and I just see this beautiful light emanating forth, you know. And then you've got this other polarity of these men, you know, just totally, completely the opposite. And so, you know, the television has allowed beautiful light workers to shine their light on the world, but it's also brought in this confusion as well, you know, where people who, you know, maybe they did start out really pure people and they got corrupted by the whole experience. We don't know. You know,
maybe they were practicing Santeria or voodoo, or they were connecting to witches and they were getting, you know, demonized slowly, knowingly or unknowingly. When we look at a massive amount of people who hold the reins that they're now losing, that control our planet, my planet, your planet, our planet, they have so many demons attached to them. They are making sacrifices. They are doing rituals. This is coming out more and more and more. And, you know, Phillip Schofield owned daytime television. He owned it for 30 years, for 20 years, certainly on that show this morning. And, you know, we are now seeing it doesn't matter who you be, who you were, who you think you are. Your time has come to an end. If your frequency is not benefiting humanity in this rise in ascension that the planet is doing, that we are doing. I had a run-in with him years ago. I was on, as you know, you and I have both had television careers in Britain. And I was in Berlin launching a brand new television show for the British market. The new CEO we had was German, and so we were using his TV studios. Me and Leslie Eddy were the main presenters. And he called, it was live. He called the live show pretending to be somebody else and was goaded on by other men, actually, going, call in. And at the time, I learned a lesson because I was trying to get myself on this morning as their main life coach. That's what I was trying to do. So I was denying my clairvoyant, psychic, mediumship abilities. And as soon as his voice came in, he tried to describe it. I'm seeing a blonde woman with all these rings of light around her. And it was Holly, his partner. And I knew there was going to be a third baby. And I denied it all. And I think if I'd said it, then I may have been, you know, a better known psychic, but I wasn't about that. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting. He really hurt that show. He hurt us. It wasn't nice to be mocked at. But it, again, I take no joy in his demise. But it's so interesting that there are so many people that have been so mean and unkind. And now it's coming home to roost. It's coming home to roost.
I think it's just lying. It's like, you know, there is no benefit to lying. And I think people need to understand that, you know, you look at people and think, surely you had enough common sense or self-restraint to realize that you can't hide a lie forever and it's going to come out, especially in a public arena. But I think people get overconfident. They think people are going to cover for them, and people perhaps will for so long. I mean, when I worked there, I didn't know any of this. This was nothing that I knew. You know, I'd heard maybe rumors, but nothing about people who were very young, nothing like that. And it's like, you know, I think it's bringing up now in the UK, people are starting to talk about, you know, what age is it appropriate to have a relationship with someone? You know, we could say Celine Dion. I mean, he met her, I think her husband met her when she was 12. You know, he left his wife, he remortgaged his house because his belief in Celine Dion. Perhaps, you know, we could be a bit kind maybe to them and say, perhaps some of this desire that they feel towards this person who is perhaps the wrong age for them. You know, what is a guy in his late 40s or early 50s doing attracted to, you know, someone who's even 18, 19? You know, or likewise with a man, you know, we've gone through this culture where we've said it's okay for a man who's successful, wealthy, to date a really young girl. You know, so it's bringing up this whole thing about what is grooming, what is coercion, what is manipulation, what is abusing your position of power and authority, you know, within a company or an industry. You know, we used to always talk about the CEO having an affair with his secretary, wasn't it? It's this whole inappropriate, it's all been cleared from the planet, and it's very icky right now because, you know, people are going, oh, I believed in these people. They were my idol. I looked up to them. Oh, it can't be true. And then it brings in this cognitive dissonance that, you know, you can't believe that this person who you thought was wonderful has, you know, fallen from grace. And it can't be, because actually it brings up a deeper issue inside you, which is you not trusting your intuition, you not believing in your own inner knowing, or having an inner knowing that's slightly off, you know. And this is the thing we're here to develop. And when we go into our past lives, this is when we start to heal all this and wheedle it all out.
Absolutely, absolutely true. There's so much to unpack here because we're looking at the demise of systems across our planet. And because we are completely 100% controlled by the media, that's owned by maybe 3 men globally who decide what stories are going to come out, they are terrified at the loss and the lack of power. The very top of the pyramid of our planet, they are now all infighting. Their demons are all fighting each other. There's not enough black magic left that they've all done to actually save any of them now. So we're down a couple of layers and we're seeing people fall from grace, the most iconic. And while that's going on, finally, suddenly, oh, now there are UFOs and recovered aliens and recovered alien craft. That subject right there, I want to line them all up and whack them all in the ghoulies really hard for being so insulting for the last 70 years and covering up the reality of our planet. And they have failed, they are failing, and they will continue to fail because this is the way of the light. This is the beautiful essence of the Princess Dianas and the Olivia Newton-John and the love that is in all of us. Now that the repressives are gone on so many levels, we're finally able to break out of the binds that we've had, feel the love within us, emanate, resonate with others, good people, good humans, good humanity, good hybrids. And there's this massive rise. And I think a lot of people who've been like meek and mild all their lives and were trained hard as Christians to turn the other cheek, which is the worst advice you can give. I mean, in terms of if you're always taking a beating, if you're always stepping down, oh, I don't mind. The other lie, the meek shall inherit the world. What a statement. Oh, if I'm meek, I'll inherit the world. If I'm meek, I'll go to heaven. Absolute nonsense. Nobody holds the keys to heaven except for the individual soul themselves, as we know. Now, again, there's another thing happening I'm seeing with real Christian hardcore There are people who've been working with the religion of voodoo, Santeria, which is all very similar, and they are now going from one extreme, darkness, to ritualize to get their money, fame, fortune, the sex, the this, the that. And then they've gone the other extreme to Christianity, to Jesus, to Bible, to this, to that. I've seen it many times. And I hope for them. I hope for them that they can allow themselves enough confidence to not give an extreme self to one master of light or one master of darkness, but to come in the middle of that experience and to recognize themselves in that, to not bow under the binding of an icon who has been crafted and created by humanity, but to find their own soul frequency.
Yeah, it's all about you. It's like, you know, if people come to my house, they won't see any figures of deities. That there aren't any, because I don't worship any of them. I don't bring that energy in. I have a lovely figurine. She's a blue lady, but she represents coming from, you know, connections to Sirius B, the blue beings. It represents myself. I'm not looking to a being outside of myself. And people don't like you saying that, because they're like, oh, she sounds a bit full of herself or arrogant. It's like, deal with it. You know, it's like, I trust and believe in myself, you know, in the past lives, you know, I don't know if I've said this before to you, but it's like, I've taken people into past lives, and I've seen people experience the past lives from two perspectives. I've seen people going back to similar past lives, but their consciousness was in a different place. So I've seen women who were like the temple maiden to the priestess in a past life. And when the head priestess died, you as a temple maiden would often be put in the room, which is like a burial room with the priestess. Now you would be alive, you're not ill, there's nothing the matter with you, but you were meant to journey with the priestess to the afterlife. And when the food and the air ran out in that place you've been sealed into, you die. And sometimes this is a very interesting thing I understood from two different people's regressions, going back to being, you know, having to journey with their priestess into the next world. One of them is banging on the wall, clawing at the walls, going, let me out, I don't want to die for her. And the other one is going, it is an honor for me to die with my priestess. Now, admittedly, you don't really want to get into that situation where you're banged up in the room with them, but this has happened in a past life. And should you find yourself in that situation, I think that the second person probably had the better attitude to just surrender into whatever, because otherwise you'll be clawing at the walls and you're not going to be in your heart. And so everything is about getting into this minutiae space in our heart and trusting our intuition. One of the other stories of initiations we've seen in past lives is, you know, one of the great initiations that would happen to you was you'd go into water, they'd put a lid on it, and as you're big, I've seen this in a past life with a client as well. So you're underwater, the water's risen, there's a trapdoor, they've told you, one to the left or one to the right. There's one both sides. One goes to crocodiles, one goes to clear water. You trust your intuition. Is it left or right? Left or right? It's hardly rocket science, but it's life-changing, because you're going to die if you pick the wrong one. And I've seen a past life where a lady, she'd been estranged from her parents very young in life. So the only person she'd really had a deep heart connection to was her spiritual teacher in that lifetime. And as she's in this water, she sees an image, like a mirage, of her spiritual teacher come in front of her going, I love you, go left. Well, because she loved the spiritual teacher and her intuition was saying to go right, she went left into the crocodiles instead of taking her power back and trusting herself. So the spiritual teacher was giving her the biggest lesson of all. Don't trust me, trust yourself. You know, you must trust yourself. And that's like with all of us, you know, even though we're helping people, there's a point where they have to trust you to help them to trust themselves, to take their power back. You know, I don't want to be involved in any karmic doodah with my clients. I want to come at this karmic neutral. I don't want to, you know, be coerced into any place of taking responsibility for their lives. I want to empower them back to themselves. And I think this is also not just celebrities. This is where we've got the celebrity kind of spiritual guru thing that's come in, and it's all got out of hand. And now they're worshipping the spiritual guru instead of the message, you know, and it's really about the message. And it's very much about take your power back. Don't worship anybody.
Totally. And again, you know, a Christian, let's say a hardcore, because I grew up in that awful evangelical Pentecostal, prayed at 7 years old because I saw Jesus and I saw the angels, and I've always seen angels, aliens, and demons my entire existence, in preparation for the work I do now and the work I've done with my clients over the years too. So it's very similar to you. And now it's about like speaking out and just really sharing like everything, like putting it out there and not accepting what we've been told. And when the Christians in particular get extremely upset, you know, they are so not told the truth about their own religion. They did not come from the Christ. It did not come from Jesus. It came from a handful of men, some good, some truly evil. And it's like, don't say that. It's the word. Whose word? You blasphemer, you'll go to hell. Now, is that you raging, or is that programming? Is that the child in you that was abused by pastors, vicars, and popes? Like, find the source of origin inside of you that gets triggered to rage, to murder. Because Christians, other religious people, they will kill for the truth they believe in. I mean, that happened to Jesus too, actually. They put him on a cross.
Whether that was true or not, you know.
Right. I mean, we could go 1,000 different ways here, couldn't we?
Yeah. And then we've got the Nag Hammadi library, and even the Bible. I mean, I did mention this on a TV show once, actually. It was on the BBC Big Question, not the one where they booted me off. It was the one after that. I got booted off for speaking out too much. But
you were great. You were great.
I was talking about, that was it, the Aramaic text, because I think the actual Bible is based on the Aramaic text. And obviously the Bible, as we talk about, is 2,000 years old, but the Aramaic text is 12,000 years old. So, you know, it's kind of, that's even older. But I think the thing is, you know, I get why people like religion. You know, in the UK, they just want to create they want connections with other souls, and they want somewhere to go and people to talk to, and they like to have a coffee morning on a Sunday, you know, and a biscuit and a chat. And it's really that sense of community, and they've been coerced into something that, you know, on the dark side of it is not necessarily going to help them heal and empower them, but maybe on some level it might help them. You know, as a child, I wasn't involved in extreme Christianity like yours was, but I was the Sunday school Rose Queen. You know, I did open garden fetes and things like that. And, you know, I was even a Sunday school teacher when I was very, very young. I must have been about 14 or 15, being a Sunday school teacher. But it wasn't dark. My experience of it wasn't dark. It was nice. It was nice to make friends with the other children, and it was a lighter side of it, though. And I think, you know, it was something for my mum to do, and ways to make friends, you know, back in the day, because I don't think people hung around coffee shops back in the day. So the only opportunity, especially in the UK, would be probably the WI, the Women's Institute, you know, and these little groups of, you know, religion had quite a hold on the social gathering, didn't it? If you didn't have a big hobby that was your real thing. So, you know, people have been coerced into this, and now it's all sort of unraveling. And, you know, it's going back to our hearts, going into our past lives, realizing our inner child, like we were going to mention about the magic mushrooms, the ayahuasca, the kambo, all these things, which, you know, I would say be very, very wary of taking these things, because most of us don't know if we've got trauma, you know, because the thing is with trauma, you sometimes disassociate from the trauma in your childhood to survive, you know. So I'm working with a lot of people. A lot of the work that I do is inner child healing. You know, if you haven't healed the trauma from your childhood, you go smoking wacky backy and taking magic mushrooms and whatever, it could cause a massive psychosis in you and could see you, you know, sectioned, could see you lose your business, your children, your family. You know, I just watched this, I'm really enjoying a channel on YouTube at the moment called The Diary of a CEO, and they were interviewing the co-owner of this company, and sadly the other owner ended up taking his own life and dying, called Nexium. I think that was the name of the company. It was a skincare big brand that made millions. And, you know, reading between the lines of what happened to this gentleman from taking mushrooms and him having a complete psychotic breakdown and ending up being sectioned and things like that, you could see it was from, again, guilt around sexuality as well. There was a guilt around sexuality because he had an Iranian background. He'd had a secret partner, again, all secrets and lies again, that he'd hidden from his family or even his work colleagues, his friends, you know. So again, it was shame, this shame that people have. You know, we need to get shame off the planet. And so listening to this guy's story, I felt so sorry for him, and I thought, you know, our skills and gifts could have helped someone like that understand how these entities take a hold of people and how that you need to resolve that. You know, then we've got these other sexual entities that come in. I don't think that was maybe his case, but it makes me think about, some people have heard the words like succubuses and incubuses, and these are these interdimensional beings that don't have a physical form, but they seem to cling on to people's sacral chakras and make them have, you know, it's not love if it's not coming from the heart. These lustful relationships, like I must have this person in a carnal way, is coming from these, you know, lusty, demonic succubuses and incubuses, in my opinion. You know, this is what I see happen to people, and they're not really they don't talk about this that much. And then, you know, also other things like pornography, the programming within pornography. I've seen a lot of clients experience trauma and negative energies because of this. So if we can help people go back to the very beginning, get back to the key past lives, a significant life, you know, there were lots and lots of past lives, but if you can get back to the origin of your past life and clear it to what I call the 0 point field, so there's no emotional pull on you, you know, being honest about the feelings you're having or the emotions that you're having that are coming up, and, you know, that space of grace where someone like us can help you unravel this and release whatever's going on in your life, even if it's small things. You know, if you look back at my channel, you can see me regressing some of these members of the public back at the very beginning of my channel. They had a fear of enclosed spaces. You know, why do you have a fear of it? I had it with a friend actually the other day. I mean, we were all here and he was with a little group of us and we made a little new video, and I said, oh, let's go walk over the field. There's a massive field looking out to Glastonbury Tor, and he didn't tell us what his problem was. And then he said, no, I'll stay in the house. So I was like, okay. And then he appeared in the field with us, and then he disappeared from the field again, and the rest of us were all just, you know, enjoying the field, enjoying the sunset. And then when we came back to the house, you know, he divulged to us, and you know, he's someone I've known a while, but I don't know him that well. And he said, I actually have a fear of open spaces. I get a panic attack in open spaces. And everyone's going, well, Andrea could help you with this. I'm like, oh, yes, I could definitely help you with this. It's like, this obviously has an origin somewhere. But, you know, this gentleman, lovely guy, cannot be in open spaces on his own because it brings up a panic attack. Now, this is, to me, either linked to being shut in a cupboard as a child, you know, something like that's probably happened, or it's linked to a past life and we need to resolve this. These are not lifetime traumas you need to live with. I mean, goodness me, when you think, wow, I have a fear of open spaces, that is actually really debilitating to your life, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And again, you know, his fear of open spaces may be that there's a part of him in a past life that was ambushed and killed. You know, maybe he was in a battle. When I'm doing past life regression, how I do it now is if I'm not physically with the person, I don't put them into clinical hypnosis. And it's so, for me, so I'm glad you agree, so dangerous. And so I won't do it. But what I will do is a past life reading on someone, so I can access everything just as you can. And it's so interesting. The lives that come up in the reading for me are always relevant to their life right now. The opportunity to heal is always presenting itself, you know, in every way and every day.
Well, the way I do it is exactly like you, I think we talked about this once in one of our first videos, is that we both agreed with that. I do not do, and I would say don't do regression with anybody over the internet. No, over the internet. You have to be with that person in person. I had a lovely client today, actually a lady I first saw 20 years ago for a session. She just came back. So it's in person is regression, his hypnosis into past lives, inner child, ancestral. We're weaving between all that. What I'm doing, which is over the internet online, I don't look at you. I don't physically need to look at you. I allow you to just drop into your emotional self. And I'm going into what I specify, although I've only learned to say this word properly in recent times, Akashic records. I couldn't say Akashic for years, so I used to say emotional timelines. But I'm going into your emotional and very specific emotional Akashic records. Now, going into your emotional Akashic records is sort of like dreamy drifting, but we're not dreamy drifting. We're just going into a place where we can see you're telling us what is happening in your lifetime now, what things you don't like going on in your life, and the things that you're challenged with right now. And we're going into, oh, I see the origin of what created this. You know, this was linked to a past life in whatever year, 1873. This is what's happening to you. It's not the same as regression, because I'm sure Dani's going to agree, is we're not looking at what color is your dress, what color are your shoes, are you inside or outside? It's not that. We're just going back to where that emotional trauma happened. We're giving you a what's that word?
Synopsis.
That's the one. Synopsis, a short little version of that lifetime. And by us sharing that synopsis of that lifetime, you will have an emotional reaction, because when you hear the truth of your soul, especially if you've got a trauma around it, it will bring up emotion. And how I work is I help you guide it out of your emotional energy field, your physical body. We release it. I sing light language. You have a reaction to that. That helps clear it. That's how I work. And then we might go into some event in childhood as well, or lots of events in childhood. We're just, you know, scrolling through those. Or we might see some, and that it's an ancestral story. We might see that we need to go into the past life of an ancestor, or we might need to go to what happened in that lifetime to your ancestor, you know, the secrets of your ancestors, you know, because our ancestors had to keep more secrets, you know, than we did in this era. They kept a lot more secrets. So it's healing these secrets, because these secrets, you know, they stay in the ancestral timeline energy field, and they manifest as ailments and illnesses and lumps and bumps in your body. And you don't need to have that ailment going on if we can get to the origin of these emotional issues. And, you know, the more stress and anxiety you have in your body, the more your body can't absorb nutrients from food, because it's feeding all this stress and anxiety.
Yeah, true. True. We could also go into the systems being broken down, the manipulations and the manipulation of our food, our water, our air, etc. But all of these things are being shown and highlighted as we are all at the point of our ancestral healing, our inner child healing, knowing that this is the time to do it. And we don't need to ask a God for permission to access our own emotions. We don't need a partner, a lover, a husband, a wife, for this or that. You know, we are in this world. We came by ourselves, whether we were twins or triplets or not. We came for an experience. We're in that experience, and it is up to us how we decide to continue or not, you know, healing in that experience. You mentioned weed, marijuana, ayahuasca journeys, Cambo, which is the frog, the poison frog, and licking and all that yuck stuff, in my opinion. I cannot tell you the names, but I can tell you there are at least 3 children in my career as a therapist. 2 of them I had to have sectioned, which is going to a mental institution for their protection and their rehabilitation. And the 2 I mentioned, one was a girl, one was a boy. The boy was in his teens and he'd only smoked weed a few times and weed oil, but he had a psychosis because the brain is not developed in young men until they're at least 24 years old. 24 years old. But no, let's make it cool, man. Let's all smoke weed, man. It's good for you, man. There are a percentage of children, adults, people who it will never be good for. And the other was a girl in her early 20s. And she was in Turkey with a friend of mine. And the next thing, my friend's calling me, screaming, saying, oh my God, she took a lipstick and scrawled demonic the worst swear words all around this 5-star bathroom. Anyway, we got to her, but she was psychotic, and that was also just from smoking marijuana.
And the problem is, you know, and there's going to be people who disagree with this because I speak out about this a lot, and they're going to put in the comments, oh, you're wrong, I've been doing this.
I don't care. I don't care. I'm talking from experience, Andrea.
Yes. No, I'm with you. It's right. Like I made a post the other day, and I said, oh my God, you know, I said, everywhere I go these days, I'm smelling weed. And I said, no, not even rough areas. This woman went, you sound like a snob. I said, I'm not a snob. I'm just telling you from 20 odd years experience, you know, it's not worth risking it, because yes, for every person who doesn't have a psychotic episode, who smokes weed and it's fine, and they do the Cambo, they do the ayahuasca, there is somebody else with a whole other story that it destroyed their life. And it's not worth risking it, because the thing is, all the things that people are trying to achieve from those substances can be achieved through regression, hypnosis, through what we do. What you're trying to achieve can be achieved by that. I had a client today who I've seen 20 years ago. She's 20. When I saw her 20 years ago, she said, you know, I saw my past lives and stuff like that. I've seen her husband recently because I'm helping him regain his eyesight. And today she more or less went between lives. And I was just holding the space for the benevolent beings to come in. We saw a little bit of inner child stuff, but mainly it was between lives, these benevolent beings speaking to her, helping her heal. Often people don't speak in that space. It's a really beautiful healing experience where these beings come in and help them. And that's the experience that people who are taking drugs are trying to have. They're trying to have this experience that you can have through regression hypnosis and guided meditations. I say guided meditations because meditating into oblivion is not necessarily going to help you process stuff. You could add that on at the end, but if I was new to meditation, I would say start with guided meditations. That's the gift that keeps giving. It'll help you go inside yourself. It'll help you release these energy centers, blocked energies. That's really going to help you. What do you say?
Absolutely brilliant. And, you know, for me, and certainly my friend Sheila is very, very insistent on, you know, learning to dissolve everything inside the body. Stop, you know, we don't always need to like put it out, put it in a bubble. That can work for a while, but we're at the point now, because the energy is so different on the planet, breathing inside to dissolve that which is keeping you prisoner, that emotional charge that we have for something. And so I've been doing a lot myself, just like laying down and just breathing into the body and into the body. And that is a beautiful form of meditation. It's bringing you really close to yourself, to your soul. It is really owning the power that we are, which some would say we all have godlike powers. We are made of that essence. And it's like, oh no, don't say that. Oh, who do you think you are? Bloody Britain. Who do you think you are, you big show off? Oh my God, you're so full of yourself. Yeah, whatever, Trevor. Move along there. Because you are gods and goddesses. We are magnificent. That is why we have been so repressed by the demonized elites that they call themselves, keeping us down, down, down like dogs, and have tried to genocide and, you know, still trying to genocide to this moment, because they don't want us to know how incredibly powerful we are. You know, I did a beautiful interview yesterday with my friend Elena Danan, who you know, and we were talking about her friend Stephen Chua, who was murdered. He was a soldier. He was murdered, and he had these incredible abilities to literally use his consciousness to fly craft that the military have and have had. And again, you know, newsflash, to many of the UFOs in the skies we're seeing, same as for the last 70 years, a lot of the UFOs we see are not extraterrestrial. They are man-made. They are reverse engineered. And the military have every one you could imagine. So it's a lot of humans driving the UFOs. They're not all off-planet brothers and sisters. Of course, what we're looking at now is the manipulation of the militaries, the dark militaries, who will use those craft to scare and frighten humanity. And I don't know how many more times we can shout out there is planning to be a fake alien invasion. It is highly unlikely it's going to happen. And we need to just be aware to all aspects. And
this is why we're back to the same old, you've got to develop your intuition, you've got to develop your discernment. These are the skills and gifts that you had. You know, when we hear that story, which I'm sure most people have heard this story before, and if you haven't, it's a great story, and I'll tell it again. You remember how the army in America, when they recruited the Native American men, because they were like, these guys are really good at tracking, and you know, really good at directions. So, you know, and of course, Native American gentlemen would have long hair back in the day. And so the minute they recruited them to the army, they shaved all their hair off. And once they got them all signed up with the shaved hair, they didn't have any intuition, because these were like their little cat's whiskers. These were the hairs that allowed their antennae to know and track the way, you know. So and this is why we see men in the corporate thing depicted, you know, with short back and size, you know, the tie, the collar. This is all to be the sort of hanged man, the controlled man. And that's why most of the people who are awake and aware, they're all sort of growing their hair a little bit. They don't want to wear a shirt and a tie. And, you know, it's all got distorted over time. So there's so much truth, but all the truth is inside us, in our emotional Akashic records. It's all stored in the mitochondria of your DNA. It's all coming up to be healed now. Everything that happens, like the Schulman frequency, I saw, we're always going on about the Schulman frequency. I mean, it was off the scale the other day. I mean, in Cornwall, it was so high. It was like, whoa. And then I come here and I'm like, ooh, it's more grounded here. It's slightly different here, but it's been super high this last few days. And when it's high, you know, you need time to integrate that. You need to rest. You know, you need to be able to say no to people, to things you've maybe previously committed to, that you're like, actually, my body can't go out and do those things and meet those people. And, you know, I need to honor my body. And I need to learn to say no. And, you know, this brings in the other thing of boundaries, healthy boundaries. You know, a lot of the time we're helping people develop healthy boundaries because they can't say no. You know, they feel like they've got to show up for all these people. But actually, the person you're here to show up for is yourself. Showing up for you is the gift that keeps giving, not just for yourself, for the rest of humanity. Is if you show up for you, then you will be teaching that to other people to show up for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Sheila, who I mentioned, who, you know, is very much into breathing into the body to dissolve everything. I love her, the lessons that she's learned. For example, we were going to go out 2 nights ago, and haven't been out for a while, really looking forward to it. And then she just sent me a text and it just said, I'm tired, I don't want to go out. That was it. And because I've done so much work on myself too, I laughed and I'm like, that's fine. So I have a choice. I can go out alone, or I can just wait till the next time there's availability to go out with a girlfriend. And it's so empowering because this woman has learned to put herself first. You know, and we're programmed, how selfish, how dare you? Oh my God, you know. And again, it's like, oh, poo to that, poo to that. You know, we are learning the empowerment and the beauty of saying no, of putting in boundaries, of not being victims of other people's ridiculousness, you know.
And that's what happened to me the other day. You know, 2 people cancelled for dinner, but my intuition already told me don't cook anything till they arrive. And I thought, okay, now what am I doing? Because it is a funny feeling. You know, you're dressed up to go to receive people, you've tidied your house. I mean, any old excuse to get you to tidy your house. But it's like, and I was like, what do I do now? And I thought, I'll go and climb the tour. I never got up the tour. I met this amazing young boy who I've done a video with. But if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have done that. I've had other experiences where that was quite a long time ago now. I organized, I mean, I'll tell this because I think it's so important that people think, because I think people project onto us, oh, I bet you're the kind of person who has fabulous birthday parties and all that. I organized a birthday lunch for myself once in London, and guess what? Nobody turned up. You know, nobody came to my birthday lunch. And, you know, that can make you feel very sorry for yourself, a little pity party for yourself. But you actually have to rise beyond that and think, why is this happening? You know, why is nobody showing up for my lunchtime little thing? And then you maybe go through a grief of sadness with that and you process that. You know, even when friends tell you things, I'm thinking about this particular birthday lunch. And I had one friend who said to me they couldn't make it. And I was like, okay, because it was quite a long way from where they live. And then they rang me a few days later asking me if I could get them tickets for Chelsea Flower Show. And I was like, what day do you want these tickets? And they said the 22nd of May. And I was like, wow, so you can't make it to my birthday lunch, but you can make it to come to London where I live to go to the Chelsea Flower Show. And they were like, oh, so again, people of the lie, do not lie to people. And I still continued my friendship with this couple, but subsequently our paths have separated, even though we're kind of on a spiritual path or on different paths. But from your point of view, you can, you know, you have to honor the disappointment that you're going to feel, the feeling of betrayal, the feeling of sadness, the feeling that you've maybe projected onto these people, that they were more important in your life than perhaps you are in their life, you know. So at this time, we're processing all this grief, all this disappointment, all this sadness, all this betrayal. Oh, these people aren't who I thought they were. And I have a great saying that everybody who betrays you is so that you can learn to truly love yourself, because without all these people betraying you, you wouldn't learn to truly love yourself. You're looking for people to love you, but you're not going to learn to love yourself unless people start not showing up for you.
That's so true and so important as well. And again, for people to learn to give themselves permission to say no, stop being a pleaser, and recognize something else as well. I was talking to my friend Ronna the other day, my beautiful Ronna, who has in this lifetime already buried 2 of her daughters. Oh. Absolutely devastating. One was our little Mackenzie, who had a lot of, I mean, I remember we got her 3 kidney donors. I'm like, when I first met them, I'm like, I know one, but I know if I make a video, I just felt it that we would. And so little Kenzie Bear, she died. And then her other daughter had a freak accident and died that day. And it is just beyond the knowingness that a woman or a man, you know, lose a child, let alone 2. So we were on the phone and we were chatting away, and, you know, we were both having a cry, you know, there for each other. She's one of my closest friends. I love her so much. And she was saying that the amazing amount of behaviors that she's seeing in people, the things they're saying and not saying and doing and not doing. And we were discussing the fact that a lot of the people and the behaviors that we would perceive as bad, that is their grief, their pain and their wounding also coming out at such a heightened time the death of a child, a sister, a mother. She had 2 little children. And so we also, in our own pain and grief, have to witness that and think, okay, I don't like what I'm seeing here. And I can understand they are showing behaviors that aren't working with me, and they may be in their own agony, but I still have to respect my own boundaries and have compassion, yes, but have compassion for myself first. Excuse me. It's a tough thing. And there's nothing more healing when you're in the midst of agony, to witness yourself and how you respond to something, to show up for yourself, which is a gift and a gift and a gift. And then we model that to others.
You're right.
With me, gosh.
You got some water?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's a human condition to go through sadness, to project expectations onto people. I mean, if I look back at my childhood and all the things that what's coming to mind is a hilarious story that when I left school, I actually trained as a hairdresser. I'm a qualified hairdresser and beauty therapist. That's what I did when I left school. And I went on a work placement. I always, I was the kind of person I want to go on a work placement at the best salon. And so I'm learning hairdressing at this college. And I'm thinking, oh my God, when I get to this work placement, I'm going to be cutting hair. I'm going to be styling. I'm going to be coloring. And I got to this work placement and I wasn't even washing the hair. I spent a week brushing hair up. I went home every night because my ego was, I must have had some kind of, that teenage ego. And I had blisters on my hands from brushing the brushes. I'd brushed the hair up and I not even got to wash these people's hair. I was washing the combs. And I was so crestfallen. My ego was like, oh my God, I thought I was going to be cutting their hair and everything. And again, it was very humbling. It was a real wake-up call to learn that, in many things, you have to learn your craft. You have to learn your skill. You have to go through these experiences. So, if you're a fairly young person starting your career and you're listening to what we're saying, some of the things that you're doing, you might not get paid a lot of money for. You might just do it for the experience, but the life skills, and you might remember this when you're older, the life skills that you're going to learn from those experiences are endlessly life-giving, humbling. They will teach you things that you didn't know that you need to learn. And that is so beneficial on a soul level. I remember as a child, astral traveling out of the corner of my bedroom, but not knowing that I was astral. I wouldn't know, oh, by the way, I was astral traveling out of the corner of my bedroom. You don't know. I had no brothers or sisters. All I knew was that when I lay down, the corner of my bedroom, I would go out into the cosmos and the universe through that corner, and the room became the cosmos and the universe. It got enormous. And looking back now, I didn't realize it at the time. I would be seeing some of the past lives of my parents. I didn't know that then. It took me a lot longer to realize that some of the things that I was seeing were my parents' past lives and how they knew each other and how I might have known them. But I didn't know that at the time.
That's fascinating. And again, so many people, we come in with our gifts and our skills. I came in with mine. I came in with clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, mediumship, and, again, growing up as a child and being born awake, as I call it, but then going through the repression of school, of very strict parents, of a religion that didn't fit at all, and being told you're evil, you're bad, you're the devil, and you grow up with that attachment to what the adults tell you. But when I got to 7 years old, that was when I realized that adults are liars. They don't do what I do. They can't see what I can see. They are in denial of their own innate gifts. They have fallen under the slave-mindedness that has been permeated in every single country, in every single, color, whatever, race, creed, doesn't really matter, demographic. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. And you talking about the astral projection. So what you're sharing with us here is the fact that you did it naturally. You weren't reading books and studying. You didn't even know that you could do it. So when you did have this awareness, what did it take for you to find out that it was something that you could do naturally, but you wanted to know more about it? Did you consult books? Did you have a teacher?
No, not until I was much, much older. I just was intuitive. I'd sit at weddings and I'd say, as a 15 or 16-year-old going, I don't think this will last long. And my parents would be like, shh, we're at someone's wedding. And, I'd be right. I had a wisdom beyond my years. And I think even when I was at school in typing class, this will make you laugh when I tell you this story. Even in typing class at school, so I'm like 14, 15, I'm typing things to children, they're writing their problems down and I'm replying to them, but I'm a 15-year-old child, but I'm obviously deemed to have a little bit more wisdom than the other children because they're typing their problems to me. And, the teacher thinks I was daydreaming out of the window in typing class, but actually the truth of it was I wasn't daydreaming out the window. People were sending me their problems and I was typing a reply to their problems, and it was going, round the typing class to be given to the child who needed the answer. And that's at 14, 15. So, and then in later life, I ended up as an agony aunt for spiritual, in America, I don't think they call it agony aunt, problem page. I was the lady who would reply to the problems on the problem pages in the magazines. So that was what I was doing at school when I was 14, 15. I was replying to people's problems. And this is hilarious. This will make Dani laugh. In my naivety, when I was 14 or 15 and typing all these answers to people's problems in the class, in typing class, that was what I was spending my time doing. I actually had the name of agony aunt vaginal warts, and I didn't even know what they were. I'm like this problem aunt, and that was my name in the typing class, answering these problems of these other children in the class at 14, 15. Only X years later to end up as being paid to be, a problem page agony aunt in magazines.
Wow, isn't it incredible?
But not with the vagina warts. They're very big things.
The mimicking the things that we do. It's like, I went to school for broadcast journalism, and nursery nursing, and then years later I would question, why did I do that? But then I realized that every single thing I did was never wasted. It was not wasted.
Nothing is ever wasted, is it?
Yeah.
Everything, when you see yourself sulking, or I see young people going, oh, I don't like what I'm doing just now, I'm going, that is a life skill that, I'm glad I learned leafleting. I'm glad that I stood on corners handing out leaflets, sometimes promotions, PR, because that's a tenuous link to my event. I just printed my leaflet. If you're in Glastonbury around the solstice, it's the weekend, next weekend, because it's now the 10th of June, and I have a 2-day workshop. So all these things about handing out leaflets, I know how important for events it is, although these days we do promote most of our events online. How many times have some of the best things you've ever been to was because you saw a flyer on the wall and you were like, I happen to be free, I'm going to that. I've had some of the most amazing people who've come to my events, and I'm sure Dani's heard the same thing in hers. Hold on one second, I've just noticed that I'm not plugged in for charge for my battery. Hold on, we're plugged in now. But it's like seeing a little flyer, even if you leave your business card on the floor, sometimes you don't know who's going to find that or see it, and you don't know how much they need to be there. they need to see that. And it isn't always online. People don't always see things online. It's walking down the street, seeing a flyer on a you know, lamp post or something, and you're like, I need to go to that. That's where I need to be. So I still believe in printing out flyers, and I know how important it is showing, you know, you can give someone a flyer and they might not come to your event this year. This is my solstice event, honoring your intuition, awakening and healing your soul memories. Saturday, the 17th of June and Sunday, the 18th. You can come to both days or just one. But it's so important that they get that flyer, because, you know, they might not come to this, but in 6 months' time, they might find that in the bottom of their bag, crumpled up, and go, you know what? I need to go and do whatever that woman's offering. I can remember years ago, somebody said someone's name to me. And so I rang up this lady and I said, I don't know what you do, but somebody said your name, and it just went, I need to book a session with you. I don't know what you do, but I'm coming to see you. When's your next appointment? So that is how you need to be when you come to seek our help. You know, I have some people who are, they're like, tell me what I'm going to get out of this session. Justify to me why I should come to see you. I'm like, well, you shouldn't come to see me. If you want me to tell you what you're going to get out of this session and to justify why you should come to see me, you're not in the place that someone like me can help you, because I'm not here to tap dance and prove what I can do. If you feel called to come to see me, then trust to that. And if you can't trust to that, then I'm not the person to help you at this point in your journey.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? The rudeness and again, it's an aggression. Somebody's putting the cost of something way above the actual treasure that they will get to excavate. I remember recently with the team at, for our conference, Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection, somebody wrote, and the team member passed it on to me, and it is a man, and he wrote, well, this is a spiritual conference and I'm a journalist, and I want a free ticket. I really want to see if you say who you think you are. And I'm like, delete, how rude. Don't try and use the spiritual, I am not the right person to do that with. I have zero tolerance. But yeah, I have experienced your work. And I know I've shared this before, but when my beautiful husband-to-be died very suddenly, I was so traumatized, and I already knew you, and I knew what you did, and I'd never had a session with you. I reached out to you, and you were profound in my healing, profound. Not only did you allow me to, and it was on Skype, but it was on the phone, because you don't even look at the person. So you're not even cold reading as some people do. You're not looking at the physical response or non-response.
I can't do what I do online. I can't do what I do online, because sometimes I get people saying, well, can I just do what you do online in person? I'm like, no, because it's not the same thing. And I couldn't do what I do online if I looked at someone. I know some people can in whatever they do, but I can't do that gift, that gift within me, that emotional. I can't do it if I'm looking at your little puppy face going, when your little puppy face is looking at me like, one, I don't think you're dropping into your emotional self enough to have the reaction to what I'm saying. And two, I'm very off-put to tell the absolute truth when your little eyes are like that looking at me. And so it's much easier when I'm just not looking at, I'm just going. In our intuition, how I've developed mine is I just see it. I could sit in here with my eyes open, but I can also see another image in my mind. That's what I'm seeing. But I remember your session, and in all the people we see, we don't always remember every people's session, but I can remember sitting in here and a big wind came in. I was like holding on to my table. I don't think I told you that at the time, but the wind, I was like, who is this woman? Because the wind that came in and the energies and the beings that came in, I was like, oh my God, who was that woman? But I knew who you were because I'd seen your posts about all the work you were doing with the children and all that beautiful work that you were doing. But I was like, wow, whew, kind of, and you can tell that from people, you know, you can tell the people who've got, you know, the more work that this is how I see it anyway, the more work that you're going to be doing out in the world to help other people, the more likely you are to have a big team behind you helping you, you know. So the kind of person who's, because at one point I did ask this in regression sessions with clients, and I said, you know, it is a soul journey, and you know, in our grief we're like, why did they have to die? And you don't know the reason of that person, you know, and why do some people, you know, you see a car accident happen and you know, they didn't get touched, like somebody moved the car. It was as if somebody moved this car. And it was a, you know, and you hear these people talking about these near-death experiences, and they're like, it was like an angel came in or something and saved me. And I've asked people in regression, I've asked these benevolent beings, why do you step in for some people? And they said, for some people, it's not across the board, but for some people, we can see the potential of what they're going to do, and they haven't yet done what they need to do. So we need to stop what might have happened to them from happening, because we can see what they might do in the future. But that isn't always the case, you know, because nothing stopped me from being mugged and strangled outside my flat in London when I lived in London. But I also think that the men that strangled me, one of them, when I got mugged and strangled, was actually my son in a past life. And this was some sort of retribution from the past life. And, you know, as I was going through the process, I was like, okay, stay calm. Don't, you know, stop screaming because they're strangling you more. But it was also the catalyst from, at that point in my life, I was actually modeling. So it was the catalyst from this superficial outside world, because I blew up a few days later, you know, like Puffalum. And that was the catalyst for me to go, whoa, if I can't do modeling, what am I going to do? So from the superficial world of modeling, this mugging incident triggered me to go, you know, when you're saying I was awake and was traveling the universe. And then I think this mugging was my awakening back into my, you know, inner self, back into the spiritual journey. So things happen to get you, which can often look like negative events, but they kind of get you back on course. And I think I was given a lot of opportunities, because I had a few car accidents kind of fairly swiftly, kind of within a few months of each other, and I still wasn't waking up. So then the mugging had to happen, and you know, to really wake me up. And it's your time to wake up. It's like, wake up, it's your time, you know. And how willing are you to see what's happening that's your awakening? And you will be being prodded until you wake up, if it's your time to wake up now. And you're going to manifest a dis-ease if you don't wake up in enough time. And that will be a catalyst to show you're out of alignment in the Lemurian times. You're out of alignment with your authentic self. Go inside yourself, heal your emotional self. I really resonate with the Lemurian times. I have visions of myself, you know. I'll show you, where is it? Oh, here it is. I have visions of myself coming not on my own, coming without a physical body, coming to planet Earth with a group of my soul monad, which is my soul star family group. I have memories of coming to this planet, bringing crystals, bringing bits of glass. That's my Andara. And I've told you, shall I tell the story of how I acquired this one?
Yes, because it goes against the other things that we all thought. Yes, go.
So, okay, so when I went to Hawaii for the first time in 2008 was when I heard about Andaras. Still to this day, as we speak now, the 10th of June 2023, in the UK, there's like some veil on people about not knowing about Andaras. They're starting to know a little bit, but people aren't interested in Andaras in the UK. It's really interesting. It's kind of veiled. There's only a few people know about Andaras. So I go to Hawaii, I learn about Andaras, so I'm very aware that they come in other colors and things, but this is my specific one that does not come from Hawaii or anywhere. So I go back to see my aunt, my dad's sister, and you forget what you've seen. And I go to her house and I'm like, wow, look at that. There was a massive piece of Andara about this big in her house, which has been there my whole life, but it hadn't registered with me before. And I'm like, where did you get that from? And she's like, she's not spiritual at all. And she's like, oh, do you not remember your cousin, her son, dug it out of the garden? Now it would be 40 years ago. 40 years ago, my cousin dug that out of the garden in a ancient Saxon village in Cheshire, in England, and it was inside a Saxon watering trough. The Andara was inside that, and when my cousin put the spade in, this piece came away, and she said, you can have this. She gave me that, so I got this. I don't know where the bigger piece is now, because sadly she's passed away. It's either in a safe space or exactly where it needs to be, and it may be in the garden there. I don't know where it is, but it goes to show you that, you know, I've heard other people say that the Andaras were the amniotic fluid around the earth when we first came here. So I don't know, because I have visions of me bringing crystals to the earth with my soul monad family when I didn't have a physical body, when we were energy beings, you know, in a higher vibration. And when I had my awakening back in 2000 and 2001, I was losing the physical density of my body. You know, I was vibrating at such a high level that I was losing my physical body. And then I think I got an opportunity to stay or go. And I think I chose to stay. So I sort of took on karmic memories to maybe understand how it is to help people, so I would be able to do the work that I subsequently got to do, you know, and in all these past lives that I was doing on television weekly. And it was funny because, you know, I've regressed so many people who work on TV in the UK for TV. It's like, you know, because Phillip lost his show of presenting the soap awards in the UK, Jane McDonald took over. And Jane McDonald, she, lovely lady. And
she's also regressed, right? Very
yes.
famous singer. Everyone loves Jane McDonald. You've actually regressed her too, yeah.
Yeah, so I regressed her for TV. I've just uploaded that regression onto my channel where she got poisoned in a past life, you know, by some woman who was jealous of her and killed her off in the past life, you know, this woman being jealous of her. So, you know, we're clearing all this stuff, you know, and I see all these people, you know, like our soaps in the UK are like Emmerdale, Coronation Street, even Neighbours. I regress people off Neighbours. I remember one of them, I think it was Madge. Do you remember Madge in Neighbours?
The older lady, yes.
Yes, she went back to a past life that we did on a TV show where I think she was in the potato famine in Ireland, because a lot of people died in a potato famine in the past lives then. I remember, you know, I've regressed footballers. What was that guy's name? Oh, David Seaman. He was, I think, our goalie for the World Cup one year, wasn't he? He went back to a significant past life. The lovely Wayne Sleep, he was wonderful. He went back to a past life looking at his eyesight. He's a very famous ballet dancer in the UK. Another person who I truly loved regressing, and she's quite a character, and I've just come across her own YouTube channel just now, and she's making amazing music with her husband, was Toya Wilcox. She was a very famous...
Toya Wilcox.
Yeah. She went back to being an anchoress.
Did she? Toya Wilcox, for those that don't know, oh my God, in Great Britain, you know, we've had the Beatles and we've had other significant, you know, the Who and the Jam. Toya Wilcox came out, this roaring redhead lioness with a lisp, and just everything about her was incredible. Incredible, eclectic and talented and beautiful. And yeah, you regressed her too. Your channel, I told you, I mean, obviously I love what you do. I love you. You and I are friends, and yeah, in real life, and I just came to your house, your beautiful
house.
Had
so much fun, didn't we not, with the lovely Nikki?
Nikki Allen, the three of us met up. Gosh, when was that? Like 2 weeks ago? Was it 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Who knows? 2 or 3.
I mean, the time. So we met up, and you know, God love her, Nikki Allen. We wanted her to come to Glastonbury, where you and I were. That's where you live, and that's where I was staying in that beautiful Airbnb that you found me. And I went to this Airbnb, and it was on a farm. And the farmer was there, and he knocks on my door, and he gives me a big pint of milk. I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
oh. And just to tell people, I live in a 1-bedroom house. My house is tiny. That's why Dani didn't stay with me. And sadly, I have a shepherd's hut, but that has subsequently got filled with my junk these days. And I need to clear it out. But yeah, we had such a great time down, and we saw that pyramid on the way back.
Oh my God. So we'll get to Nikki in a minute then. We're driving back from Bridport, where, what was that TV show filmed down there?
We were in West Bay, where we were at the beach, this gorgeous place called West Bay, and we changed our plans. We said to Nikki, don't come to Glastonbury. If you're coming from where you live, we're thinking to meet in West Bay in Bridport. She was like so excited, wasn't she? Oh, I love Westport, Bridport.
Well, because of her, she's very open about her physical issues, and she has fibromyalgia and something else going on, so she can't sit for long, and she gets inflamed. So ultimately, you and I drove out of Glastonbury and ended up meeting with her in Somerset still, at this place where I can't remember the TV show they filmed there. It was a murder mystery with the body being found on the beach, but it was
broad something,
Broadstairs or Broadstone, something. It was such a magical magical place. The three of us sat. So when you come into the town and you head right to the ocean, to the sea, turn left, because there is a magical restaurant, and it's a train, and the train was full, so we ate in the old ticketing house, which was so eclectic and beautiful. We sat there for like 15 hours. Felt like it, laughing and talking, and we just had the best laugh, the biggest giggle, and then went exploring, went in the arcade, and we just had an absolute, and God love her, Nikki just lost her dog Mia, and she's still in very much grieving. She's actually on holiday this week in Turkey, but she was in that pit of grief because that was her baby, and you know, we managed to get some giggles out of her. She's not too difficult to make laugh, that one.
No.
She's so funny, isn't she? She's hilarious.
And her life story is incredible, isn't it? And she's written a book as well.
Couple of books now. She writes about her multiple sclerosis, her ME, and her book is called Me, Myself and I, as in ME, multiple sclerosis, Me, Myself and I. And then her book about being on her way to being the greatest and best known clairvoyant medium in Britain, and then the fall, the demise from a car crash, and incredible. And just on her for a moment, she will be our Friday night extravaganza at the conference at GSIC. She'll be on stage from 8 till 10 at night, giving messages from the beloved, connecting people to their hearts and to heaven, and showing people how to themselves connect to their loved ones. Again, eliminating religion, eliminating the demonizing of our natural, beautiful abilities as spiritual beings. Like, oh, don't go and see a medium, oh, this and that. Just enough of that now, enough. The world is growing up, and the people on her are growing up, and it is what it is. It's all coming to fruition, isn't it? Everything is coming to fruition. I wanted to go back to you, and the treatment that you gave me when I came to you was, as well as you helping me. I don't know exactly what you said or did, but I was a zombie. I was not functioning. I was in Costa Rica, living in a hotel, just dying without my beloved, just wanted my heart to stop and just didn't want to be here. And you, whatever you did on the phone, you got through my energy frequency. You showed me a light.
Oh.
Wow. Sorry.
Oh.
You showed me a light. You opened a door for me. And I have all these skills and all these talents, but we all still need help. We do. And you just gave me a lifeline to my healing with Jeff. Yeah, you were the first one. And then the other thing that came up in our session together, which was surprising, was there was an element of my 3-year-old little girl self that was stuck and emotionally paralyzed. And you had me go and get her. And you talked me through my mind. And I went and got her and sat her on my lap, and then sat her beside me. I forget the way that you do it, but whatever you did, again, was so profound. And I was like, I didn't even know that was in me. And we don't. We think we know it all, but we don't. We can only take care of chunks of healing throughout our lifetime, because I mean, over the years when I've been doing my own inner child trauma, violent healing, I used to think, oh my God, this again, this again, this again. But the fact is, I think in humans, it's too much and too overwhelming when you have suffered trauma, which everybody has on some level, to take it all and heal it all in one fell swoop.
It's not possible. And I think, I see a lot of people, and I say, I do inner child healing. Oh, I've done that. I did a workshop on that. I'm like, okay, right. You've started. Oh no, I think you'll find a fix that. I'm like, okay. And then of course, they're like sobbing and wailing, and they come out of the session, they're like, oh, I obviously hadn't healed that. And I said, well, no, you had. You'd started on your journey, but it's obviously more than you realize. And you're just a lay person. You don't necessarily understand that. I've been doing this 20 years. Trust me, I know how deep it is, and I know that you can't process it in one fell swoop, because your body's got to synthesize the energies. It's a lot of. It's huge. You need to rest after that and integrate what's happened, and then go back and process the next level. I'm still processing stuff in myself. Situations that come up for us, triggers things, brings things up for us. The next thing, we're sobbing and wailing, but everything that's happening is bringing up stuff for us to heal and clear. I mean, a few weeks ago, as many of you might know, I've got this beach hut that I bought from a meditation in Cornwall. I was meditating in London many years ago, 2007. Never been to Cornwall, meditating. This white clapperboard chalet with baby blue painted windows came into my vision, and the message I got was, if you Google it, you'll find it. And I call it Sea Angel Vintage Beach Chalet. But anyway, this thing came into my vision, and I'm like, I must buy it. So I Googled for 3 days, found it, and I bought it. And it has been a catalyst for probably the most tears I've ever cried over this damn beach hut. It triggers me often. It sank into the sand this year. I had to have it lifted and raised. And then of course, because it's last minute, you can, in the UK, it's a nightmare since the Ovid times to get anybody to do anything like, DIY pay, bringing in tradespeople, and they're like, yeah, I can do that for you in a few months' time. It's like, no, I need it like next week, and they can't do it. So I had to paint the whole thing myself, which triggered many emotions in myself. In the end, I ended up almost replastering a whole wall. So it brought up all these emotions, and it brought up all kinds of issues within me, ancestral issues, because I was going around the site trying to find people to help me, and I'd see all these tradesmen doing stuff. So I said, oh, when you finish this job, would you be able to come and help me? And they were like, actually, I'm only helping my nephew or my son or my, some form of nepotism was going on. So, the fact that I don't have brothers and sisters, it triggered me. So I was like, so it brings up this, but I knew it was a healing. So I'm painting, crying, and this is the process that we have to go through. So you think you're really evolved. You think you've processed your stuff. And then, something as simple as having to paint a beach chalet comes in left field, and you're like on your knees crying, but doing it because you know you've got holiday makers booked in, so you've got to do it. So through the tears, you're doing it, but you're all also realizing it's triggering something in you that had to be released. And for whatever reason, there was no other way for me to release this other than, you know, manifesting myself. So this beach chalet has triggered so much in me. It's been like a relationship to trigger so much for me, and so many things, and so much trust, and just things that you wouldn't imagine that something just owning a holiday let would do for you, but it really has.
Yeah, incredible where we find our source of pain in order to allow us to heal. Definitely. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I wrote a little thing down here a while ago. You said about being a Sunday school teacher. I was also a Sunday school teacher at 15 years old, and the only Sunday school teacher I know that got fired from sacked, as we say in England, from being a teacher, because honestly, I found the coursework so boring. And the kids were so bored. I'd buy them sweeties, candies. I would tickle them and chase them around. I'd have them jumping up, doing jumping jacks. And of course, that wasn't appropriate in the Pentecostal evangelical. You know, you've got to teach them about the devil, put the fear of God into them, and tell those children they are sinners. Yes, sinners. Oh my God. Oh my God. No child is a sinner. We are born of original sin. Shut up. Shut up. Honestly, all that's coming down.
It was quite fluffy in my church.
Huh?
In mine, I don't really remember it being any negativity. I mean, it was a Church of England church, but it was a new build church, so it was quite modern and funky, and it was at times boring, but I don't remember them putting that pressure on it. You know, right. I didn't remember that bit. So it shows you different fractions of different things.
Yes,
they're all unique, aren't they?
Yeah. You've got Anglican, Baptist, Pentecostal, evangelical. I mean,
I don't know about any of all those.
Yeah.
What they?
But did they eat the flesh and drink the blood?
Well, yes, and I was never keen on that myself.
Yeah,
you know,
cannibalistic ritual is still there, which relates directly to Satanism.
They go the body of Christ, and it'd be like a wafer biscuit, and then they go the blood of Christ, and you get a bit of red wine, or sherry. Maybe it was sherry. But my mum obviously didn't want to get a coal sauce. She to share the goblet with everyone. The whole parishioners have all got coal sauce. I
find that disgusting too. I basically want to gag. My gag reflectors.
My mum used to dip the wafer in when it came to her turn. She'd have saved the wafer, so she'd dip it in and just kind of. So yeah, but I do remember having a very strange experience once in a service. So I don't know what happened to me. I was in a service at this church, and my leg froze in my groin. My leg was frozen. I was like a 14 or 14, maybe I would be about 13 or 14, but my leg froze, and I had to be sort of carted to a seat because I couldn't move. My leg just froze. So I'm sure it was something they were saying in the service that triggered some cellular memory, and my leg froze.
Wow, yeah. And again, because all of our memories of every lifetime are recorded in our cells. And so, yes, so it stands to reason why people have these unrequited panic attacks in the middle of nowhere, because something, a smell, a sound, a thought, a memory, and our body sees it is a barometer. Our body will pick up. It's not, people think it's just about what they see with their physical eyes. It isn't. You'll get triggered from the deepest depths of your ancient memory, ancestral memory.
The worst thing that ever happened to me once, and I'm sure this is what happens to a lot of people. So if they don't have any knowledge of past lives, so back in the day, not too far, but back enough that I like to investigate all these spiritual organizations. So I was bobbing about, and you know, I would know how bad they were if I got a parking ticket or something bad happened to me after I'd been nosy beakying, but I like to go and nosy beaky all of them. So I'd done a couple in one weekend once, and I I came back to my flat in London, and I don't want to say which one it was, but I'd been nosy beakying this organization, and when I'd gone there, I'd gone to this beginners class, and I was like, I know the answer, and they were like, well, you can't possibly know, you've not been on any of our courses. I'm like, well, it's not exclusive to your little religious thing. So I think they got triggered by me. And so anyway, I wake up the next morning. I cannot move. I'm paralyzed. I'm laying in my bed. I'm paralyzed. I'm like, oh my God, what has happened? But luckily, with the skills that I have, now the average person is going to go, I don't know. I woke up and I've been paralyzed ever since. Of course, myriad reasons why that might be. But in my case, I'm like, what's going on here? And it turned out that, energetically, these people from these spiritual organizations that I've been researching had thrown an axe at me. And some of them I'd known from a past life. And I'd got an axe energetically, not physically, but energetically in my neck. And I couldn't move. And until I figured it out, I was laying in my bed like this. I can't move. I'm just stuck here. And I think it took me an hour to process this whole thing and figure out why I couldn't move, why I was paralyzed, release the axe from my neck, go into the past life, see the people that I'd met in the last couple of days that were linked to this past life, release any emotion linked to those people so that I could get out of bed.
Incredible. And again, it sounds so ludicrous to so many people that have had this religious brainwashing programming, or they've had strict parents who won't allow any form of creativity. Then, of course, we've got the teachers and the headmasters and mistresses, etc. So there's always this constant genocidal repression that from birth and even in the womb, we start to hear it. And then we come out, and so we gather all these multiple traumas. And it's just people like you in the world that are such a gift and such a blessing. So not only can people book you and find you and come to you for all of these wonderful past life regression, inner child healing, many things, but again, let us know, show us the flyer that people can come to Glastonbury next weekend, guys. Next weekend. Let me see if I can read it.
You probably can't. It says solstice weekend. It's at the Chalice Well, beautiful Chalice Well. If you've never been to the Chalice Well, it's beautiful. So Saturday, the 17th of June, 2023, honouring your intuition, 10 till 5. And then Sunday, the 18th of June, awakening and healing your soul memories, guided journeys, skills and gifts to allow you to truly trust your intuition, go into your collective memories. I do light language codes. We go up the tour. I give light language codes there. We do guided journeys. I give you skills that are life-giving and you can use in your life on a daily level. You can come to one day or both days. If you go to my website, there's a link to a page called All Events, which is where the events listed, and you can buy a ticket or just private message me if you know you want to come to the event. There are loads of places to stay in Glastonbury, or you could come for the day. Even if you're abroad, it's very easy to get to Glastonbury from abroad, more than it is actually from the UK, because you can fly to Bristol Airport from most European countries, probably cheaper than you could come from Scotland, these days. And, you can get a flight, come to the UK, stay the night. You can get a bus from Bristol Airport, which is easier than coming from London to Glastonbury. But it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful day workshop. We have veggie vegan food. We'll be at the Chalice Well. And also the other thing, and that's what Dani's event brings in, apart from all these people with great wisdom and knowledge, it's the getting together of kindred spirits. And, the biggest gift that we give people when we hold events is that they make new friends, people who are not going to ridicule you, who are not going to laugh at your beliefs and laugh at your experiences. Instead, they're going to go, oh my God, the same thing happened to me. And that gives you the confidence. It can feel like a barren world when all your family or your previous friends, because you've awoken and you've stepped outside of that group consciousness, and you think, where are my people? Am I making this up? Am I doolally? Am I mad? Am I, you're not. you just have not found your people yet. And, you know, those people may come in and they may go. Don't try and hold on to one group of people just because you think, wow, you know, people come and go. Just let new people come in. When you activate new things within yourself, you find new friendships happen, new people come in. I mean, look at that little video I made the other day with the lovely little Robbie. Because people cancel for that lunch, I met this young man, amazing cosmic energies. We had such a connection, such a giggle, never met the person before. You know, it's these kinds of cosmic connections that we're bringing in now. And when you come to events, and what I would say is, I've seen people do this for events. If you can have the courage to come on your own, come on your own. Don't bring with you a loved one who isn't really open to what we're saying and doing. Because over the years, I used to do quite big events. Now, mine are small, intimate groups at the moment. But I would see somebody come and they'd be like that. Don't really want to be here, but I'm either driven them or I'm like, whatever. And you know, it would create an atmosphere. And usually what I was saying, something in the day of what I'd said would trigger this person. And by lunchtime, they'd be gone. And the person who did want to be there be all, I don't know whether I should stay or go, or what should I do? I should go with them, but I want to stay. You know, be brave. You know, it's not like going where you're going to meet 3D people and go, I wished I hadn't come on my own to this. Coming to these kinds of events and Dani's conference, be brave. Come on your own. If you can come on your own to my events or Dani's events or anybody's events like this, come on your own. You're going to meet kindred spirits, and because you've come on your own, you're going to have conversations that you perhaps wouldn't have had if you've got, even if it's your beloved partner or your best friend with you, but you still feel a bit oppressed. Better not talk about that, because they'll go, what did you say that for later?
Right.
You are going to be fine, isn't it?
It's such a good point, because let's say, for example, that when I was telling earlier about how owned we are as humanity, and you know, let's say that you have a guy. He really is ready to open spiritually. He can get to Glastonbury. He wants to come to your event. He's seen you all over YouTube. He's British, for example. And his girlfriend's a little bit like, oh, what are you going to see that girl for? She's really pretty, Andrea Foulkes. And anyway, blah, blah. They come together. The girl is resentful of you, you know, because you're beautiful and you're brilliant and you're clever and you're engaging and charismatic. She might be really, really, really possessive of her man, for example. And it's dead. He's not going to grow. She's going to hate your guts. It's going to cause attention. Everybody else there, because they're open spiritually, are going to feel it. And like you say, leave your partners at home. All right. But the other thing is, some partners don't want us to grow. They don't want us to grow. And it, you know, they are so fearful that you will grow out of them, and they will try and keep it down, or they will not want you to do anything spiritually because it doesn't come under the guise of a controlled brainwashing religion, you know. And if we look around and we say, well, how many wars and billions of people have been murdered in the name of religion, and how many millions and billions of people have been killed for going to a spiritual event or growing spiritually? There's really a question there for people to ponder. So one more time, hold up your flyer for the 17th and 18th of next week, and tell us about the beautiful chalice well in Glastonbury.
You see the picture there? That's the wellhead there. You will experience it on the level where your heart is at. You know, my first visit to the chalice well was, I was in a terrible relationship and I changed the feng shui of my kitchen. I'd had my romance and relationship pinboard where the dustbin was, and that was very reflective of what had just gone on. in the day, I released myself from the psychopathic con man. That's a whole other story in itself. But the thing is, we you know, we will evolve from this. So I was, you know, a little bit heartbroken, crestfallen. And I had a client, she said, oh, you need to go to Glastonbury. I'd heard of this mythical land, Glastonbury. I'd never been there. And on the way, a friend of mine said, oh, if you're going there, look out for the Chalice Well. I'm like, whatever. Driving along, I get to the Chalice Well. And it was a great story, because I get to Glastonbury, and the first thing I see is the sign for the Chalice Well. This 2006, I think it was. I'm like, oh, there's that Chalice Well. So I stopped, I parked. The minute I walked up the path to the Chalice Well, this sacred site, beautiful healing garden, healing waters. It has the divine feminine water flowing through the Chalice Well, female. It's got a lot of iron in it, so it's kind of a red water, but you can drink it, and it has a bathing pool where you can bathe your feet in and other things if no one's looking. I do know others who bathe too much of their body, maybe in that Chalice Well healing bath. And then the other side of the wall is the male spring, and that's more of a like a womb. It's a dark cave, but it's male energy there. I'm personally not drawn to go too much in there, but it's very beautiful. But I resonate more with the Chalice Well. And so on my initial journey to this Chalice Well place, so I'm trotting up the path, and I'm already, can you hold events here? Oh my God, I have to book this place. I haven't even gone through the door back in 2006. And so they have a place where you can rent rooms and sleep and stay the night, but they have this healing garden, and they have this beautiful meeting room space, which is what I rent for events. And the energy there is just sublime. And this time of it is even better because the gardens are at their most magnificent, and it's a peace garden. People are quiet, but people are washing their crystals there. It's just such a high vibrational energy. And when I went there back in the day, I went into the shop, and after me fixing this pin board in my house with, you know, the romance, I'd had pictures that a lady had given me, but I got the pin board in the wrong, I hadn't feng shuied my house correctly. And so there were these beautiful paintings that this lady had given me, who was a client. And she lived way, way up north. So I get to the Chalice Well, and she's in the shop of the Chalice Well, stood there with a long stem lily, just looking, you know, very mystical. And I was like, oh my goodness, because she was an older lady. I was like, what are you doing here? And she said, waiting for you. Like she knew I was gonna come that day. And I bought some goddess cards at the time, and then she said, you know, we'll go to the wellhead. And she came with this other older spiritual lady, and they said, we'll just do a little ceremony for you at this wellhead, which is linked. And then we shuffled the cards, and Sulis, the goddess of water card, flew out of the pack at this healing water thing. And then she said to me, you've got a gift for the well in your handbag. And I was like, I do, I have a gift. What is it? And I looked in there, and do you know what I had? I had a scarab, you know, the little Egyptian beetle. I had that from when I'd been to the pyramids in Egypt, where the keeper of the Sphinx had given me this scarab. And she said, throw it into the well. So I threw it into the well, and all the cards flew up. And she took me around Glastonbury. I had this magical couple of days with these two ladies, and they were meant to be there to greet me and welcome me to the Chalice Well. And I don't... Yeah, and I don't know anybody who's been to the Chalice Well who doesn't come back again. You know, it's a powerful sacred space. It's such a space for opening up. And I know that we've been there, and we do chanting and sound healing within the workshop as well. And I remember one group, we were doing our chanting and sound healing, and then we were like, what's that sound? And we could hear monks in another dimension. We'd opened a portal, and these monks were chanting in another dimension.
It's so beautiful. So that's what people can expect, you know, the beauty, the serenity, the peaceful at your event in Glastonbury next weekend, one day as well. And you'll also be climbing up to the sacred tour up the hill. One thing I'd like to share about that. Pardon?
We may even go to another place if the group energy vote to go there in the evening. It isn't on the schedule, but we might go there. There's a magical place. People all know about Glastonbury Tour, and I feel it's a very it's a masculine energy because you've got the tower on it, but it's actually a feminine mound. So you've got the feminine energy. And if you walk it, there are chakras that you can walk around. And there's actually a dragon egg on the tour. Not everybody knows where it is, but there is a dragon egg there. And there is another place, not too far away, but a little distance away, called Barrow Mump, that is very powerful. It's more of a feminine energy, but every time, without fail, when I go to Barrow Mump, I see the blue orb beings, which I believe are from Sirius B. So I find that this Barrow Mump is a powerful portal to the blue beings from Sirius B.
I love that. What's it called? The Barrow Mump.
Barrow Mump, and it's almost very similar. Barrow Mump. It's very similar looking to the Glastonbury tour, and often I take people. This year, sadly, the solstice isn't on a weekend, so a lot of people are not available. So this weekend is the weekend before the solstice. But when the solstice, sometimes I've done an event for the solstice. So, you know, Glastonbury tours full of everybody. It can be fun, it's drumming, but there's a lot of drunk people, a lot of weed smoking, which we've talked about. So when you go to Barrow Mump, there's usually hardly anybody there. I mean, some years when I've taken people for the sunrise at about 4:30 in the morning for the solstice, there's only been us there, you know, so we've had a wonderful time. So it is a more magical place to go to.
I love it. I was going to say about Glastonbury, I was there with you 2-3 weeks ago, and the difference I felt in my body, the energy in Glastonbury, the first time I went, it was very heavy. I could really feel the witchy wizard energy, as you and I discussed, and we were there, like that there's so much competition for everybody to be the priest, the maiden, the this. It's been there for years. They're throwing energy at each other across the road. What I found this time around, the lightness, the lifting, the healing of that sacred town, and it is an ancient sacred town. And I was delighted. And then you and I went into the church because I wanted to have another look at the ceiling that I'd remembered being the same blue sky painting, dark blue, like the royal lapis lazuli with the gold stars. And in my mind, when I'd been to the Valley of the Kings and the Valley of the Queens in Egypt, and looked up at their ceilings, in my mind, Glastonbury Church was the same. Well, it actually isn't. And as you know, I took photographs of so the different, same symbology, same color sky, same color stars, but the stars on the ceiling in the nave, which is go into the church, go to the front, it's in that right-hand corner, works more modern than the ancient Egyptians. So anyway, it was so beautiful.
Thinking about the other chapel, you know, where that woman.
I was going to say, yes, go ahead.
So there's this other really sweet little chapel called the Magdalene Chapel in Glastonbury, and I'm singing my light language, and Dani's going, oh, it's so lovely, she's singing her light language. And then I was like, oh no, I could see this woman coming to tell me off. And I said, I'm going to get told off. And she went, oh, I don't think you will. And then this woman came in and told me off, and Dani stood up to the lady. Didn't you?
I did, silly old bag. Well, the situation was that I was so excited to see this teeny tiny little hidden ancient church. It's tiny. And the first time I came across it was when that lady, Amanda Lawrence, I think she lives in Glastonbury, really sweet energy. And she was sitting on the grass and she filmed it. And I saw her on a Facebook Live. So I knew it was there. And then you took me there. And we're sitting, we go in and there's no one there. There's nobody in the little 3 almshouse rooms down the side. It's just you and I inside an actual tiny church chapel. And this woman, this volunteer. And the sign says, please, you are welcome to meditate. Be mindful of other people. So it's just me and you, boo. So you stand and you sing. It was the best light language I've ever heard. And you sang for less than a minute. And I was just in awe of the acoustics, of the beauty of your giving in that sacred place. And and then as soon as you've done, you went, oh, I'm going to get told off. I'm like, of course you're not. We're in a church where we sing and we pray and we worship. And this old bag comes in and opens her trap. Gestapo, there will be no singing in this place. Stop it.
But the hilarious thing was, though,
she went, no, we don't need to be, hang on, she was English. We don't need to be aggressive. I'm like, mate, I'm going to, you and me outside though. Go on, what were you going to say?
But then I said to her, I said, but I know that you can rent the chapel because I've seen people doing light language. She went, yeah, if you rent it, you can sing light language.
And she said, you can do anything you like. Not such a good thing to say, not with all the satanic practices happening in sacred places. But anyway, I did tell her off. I did kind of hand her ass on your behalf, because there was no one else there. But she's, again, it's like when you stand up to someone, you can be elegant, you can be calm, as I was, but you are literally pushing back on their programming. In her mind, she was the law. In my mind,
she said it was very nice, but it's like, well, what purpose is it going to serve? I've stopped now. It's just power. It's power. It's domination. It's programming. It's like, you know, my script says I must tell woman off if she does this thing. There's no, is it appropriate? It's not appropriate. You don't need to tell me off. There's nobody else in there, only us two.
Like, stop it already with the rules. The rules are made to be broken.
The
rules are merely guidelines. And if we agree with them and we see they work for the masses, great. But if it's repressing the beautiful spirit, no. Anyway, you and I could just bang on for another couple of hours here. Let the lovely viewers go and ponder on the things that have come up for them and their beautiful healing. I want them to know, you guys out there, that this is a very important event that Andrea is hosting. She only takes a handful of people. So get on it. I will put the details under here. Your website is Andrea Foulkes, FOULKES.com. AndreaFoulkes.com. I'm also going to put a link to your YouTube channel under this broadcast. Of course. Listen, us girls, we write.
Well, I've changed all the settings now. So videos, if you've been before to my channel, I think a lot of videos were hidden, and I am actually going to upload some that I'm a bit lazy. I haven't always uploaded all the regressions that I did for TV, and I am actually open to letting people film some of their regressions if they come in person. And it would be lovely to interview people who've had regressions or want to show little snippets of their regressions. And, you know, if you have been a client of mine, I have got a journalist at the moment who does want to, I've got some people who are interested, want to share their stories of their experiences. So there is, you know, you could receive a little payment for write an article that will be written in a very favorable manner about regression.
Right. And then to everybody watching, if you go, when you know, as this is coming out, don't put it in the live chat, make a comment underneath, and Andrea will read every single comment. So if you can't find the website, you can't just talk to her. This is Andrea's broadcast. This is for her in the main today. So
but if you see our links, where we put hyperlinks, whether it's on my channel or Dani's channel, where you see Dani make a comment on my channel, if you click on that, it takes you to her channel. The same as if you see the link in my comments for Dani's channel, it takes you to my channel. It'll take you to whoever's channel it is. And I think that a lot of people don't realize when you're on your phone for websites, I know not everybody has to use websites for work, but if you go to the top right hand corner and click on those 3 lines at the top, it will open up into a menu and allow you to see where sessions are. And because a lot of the time, I'm sure Dani gets the same as me, we get a lot of emails. And when someone says, oh, I've just come through your website to ask you how much is a session, all that is on the website. You can save yourself an email, and you save us an email having to reply, because the information is actually all on the website. So have a little look. Some of the questions that people ask as well, if you go and read the information on our website, it's all there. You know, how long is a session? How much does it cost? where do you live? All that information is on there. And also some of the questions that people want to ask about regression are not necessarily in this video, but they're in other videos that we've made. All that information, I know it might take a bit of research, but you would be doing us such a kindness by not asking us really basic questions, because lots of people do that, and it takes a lot of work to reply to all those emails. And in all honesty, sometimes we miss some emails.
Definitely, definitely. All right, well, beautiful Andrea Foulkes, thank you for being on the planet at the same time as me.
Thank
and everybody.
You, Dani.
Yeah, it's definitely a ride. And, you know, again, we're here to support each other. We're here to support everybody out there, and in your growth and your spirituality and your letting go of old programs, as we all thrive in this period of ascension on planet Earth. Andrea Foulkes, I love you so much.
Love you too.
I will see you soon. And to you guys, blessings to you. Sending you love from my heart to yours. And my name is Dani Henderson, and I will see you soon.